Residents raise a plethora of concerns during a public hearing regarding the planned closure of Framingham Union Hospital's special care nursery. The City Council is primed to hear about the 7 projects recommended to receive Community Preservation Act funding and a spotlight on a pair of recent local events, the Hands Off Rally and a celebration of the local fire department's history. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick, and this is The Frame, Framingham News in Focus. Hello and welcome to The Frame, an initiative of Access Framingham. We begin this week with a review of the public hearing that was held at the Memorial Building on Wednesday, April 9th, as local residents, healthcare workers, and politicians alike were critical of the proposed plan to reduce nursery services at Metro West Medical Center. Back in February, Mayor Charlie Sisitsky told the City Council that Tenet Healthcare, the Texas-based company that owns and operates Metro West Medical Center, has been planning on closing the Level 2B special care nursery at Framingham Union Hospital in June. Tenet is planning on making the unit a Level 1A ward for basic nursery care. During Wednesday's hearing with the State Department of Public Health, Tenet's Massachusetts Market CEO, Denton Park, called the transition a quote-unquote blessing in the wake of other maternity ward closures within the U.S., adding that the organization is looking to make investments in local medical services amid nationwide concerns regarding health care.
We certainly recognize that and want to be available as much as possible to meet the needs and demands of our community, and we'll do everything we possibly can to continue to move forward on keeping commitments to the necessary services that are here.
Still, public comments provided to state officials at Nevins Hall on Wednesday were overwhelmingly negative. Speakers criticized Tenet's plans as the wide range of worries expressed included a potential gap in coverage for Framingham's demographics, transportation and accessibility trouble for other medical centers in places like Boston and Worcester, and continued dips in morale among hospital staff. The mayor referred to this as a matter of ethics, while State Representative Priscilla Souza called the situation the, quote, canary in the coal mine, end quote, for the shuttering of local maternity care as a whole.
Our economic mobility here for a very diverse community depends on proper access to health care. We need to tell them, we need everyone to know how important this hospital is to us.
Local leaders vouched for at least a Level 2A or 1B designation at the maternity center, one that would provide an in-house advanced practitioner to help in deliveries with complications. Attendees at the hearing called upon Tenet to support the work put in by Metro West Medical Center's doctors and nurses.
You owe it to this community, to your nurses, to your staff, not to dismantle the labor and delivery department of the hospital for the most vulnerable kids in our community, babies. It's an ICU for our most vulnerable.
As Metro West nurses, our central question is why such an extreme downgrade? We have the space, the equipment, and the knowledge, not to mention the passion, to provide this care for our local community. Retaining at least a Level 1B status would allow us to continue to take care of our own vulnerable newborn patients.
The DPH will review public comments along with the current state of the hospital's resources and other relevant information before determining if the nursery in Framingham is an essential service. Regardless of their ruling, however, the state does not currently have the authority to prevent Tenet from carrying out the transition. State officials are set to present their ruling within the next 2 weeks. During their meeting on Tuesday, April 8th, the City Council's Finance Subcommittee approved all 7 projects recommended to receive money through the Community Preservation Act, as those projects will now be subject to a final vote of approval from the full legislative body. Last month, the Framingham Community Preservation Committee recommended that 7 projects receive about $1.7 million. Eligible proposals must promote community housing, the preservation of historic areas, or outdoor spaces and recreation. Projects recommended to receive funding, which is collected via property tax surcharges and matching money from the state government, include a boost to JFS of Metro West's rental subsidies program, the creation of a splash pad at Cushing Memorial Park, along with renovations to local trails and historic buildings by the Center Common. Finance Subcommittee members did point out that an 8th application, one that would have vouched for money to build a floating boardwalk at Farm Pond, was withdrawn following an incomplete application. CPC leaders noted that cost estimates were not submitted, but city councilors like Michael Cannon of District 4 and at-large member George King lamented that municipal officials across multiple departments were unable to provide assistance to ensure that the application could be completed.
This is a thing where at the beginning of a CPC year, get everybody together, have some conversations. What do we want to do together as a group? And figure out who's going to get it done.
Eventually, the Finance Subcommittee unanimously voted to pass along the 7 projects to the full City Council for consideration. Those CPA plans are set to be brought before the full legislative body next week. More details on the main stories that we cover every week on the program can be found on our website, www.theframe.news. There, you can also find all of the feature pieces that cover interesting stories across the community, along with a calendar filled with upcoming local events. Subscribe to our email newsletter to ensure that you receive your weekly dose of Framingham news and focus. Follow us on social media too. Our Instagram home is @FrameNews_, and you can search for The Frame on Facebook. Subscribe to Access Framingham's channel on YouTube and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever a new Frame episode is published online. We invite you to watch or listen to The Frame on Spotify as well. City officials are now accepting applications for veterans to be featured in the Framingham Hometown Heroes banner program. The initiative was launched last year to highlight military personnel with connections to the city, as roughly 30 vets of the armed forces were featured on banners across Framingham. Residents are invited to submit a military member or a vet that they know for the program. Subjects must live in Framingham now or have a clear connection to the community, and applications for military personnel who were not featured last year will take precedence this year. May 1st is the deadline to submit a free application, which must feature the honoree in their military uniform. Head to framinghamma.gov for more details. Some municipal notes for you now ahead of the weekend. First, street sweeping will continue across the city. Crews will be out sweeping paths on a zone-based schedule. The city's website has more details about sweeping dates throughout the spring. During sweeping hours, parking along roads will not be permitted as violating vehicles will be towed. The DPW has also advised that curbside leaf collections will continue next week. Leaves will be picked up during their typical trash collection days, so long as they're put in biodegradable paper bags or open barrels. Curbside brush collection will be starting later in the month, the week of April 28th. Finally, Mayor Sisitsky's series of community meetings across Framingham will continue next Thursday, April 17th, for those in District 3. Residents are invited to Brophy Elementary School along Pleasant Street to learn more about municipal projects, ask questions to officials, and provide their opinions and concerns on local matters. And now finally, our weekly frame-by-frame segment. Our team was able to cover a pair of local events that recently took place. First, residents took part in the nationwide hands-off protests this past Saturday, April 5th, part of many rallies across the country. Also, local officials celebrated the 172nd birthday of the local fire department, as the Framingham History Center gathered artifacts and promoted the department's history during an event last Friday, the 4th. Let's take a look.
Hands off our due process! Hands off!
On Saturday, a large crowd gathered around the Memorial Building to participate in the Hands Off National Day of Action. All over the country, thousands mobilized to rally against what they believe are threats to democracy.
As Framingham grew and evolved, so too did its fire department, continually adapting to meet the changing needs of the town.
The fire department's huge for the community. I grew up with it. My dad was on for 32 years. It's kind of been ingrained in me to always be protecting and serving, where you grew up.
Be sure to check out our full coverage of those pair of events over the past week. You can find it on Access Framingham's YouTube channel, as well as our social media pages. That's all for this week's Framingham News and Focus. For the entire team here at The Frame, thanks for watching or for listening. My name is Brendan Fitzpatrick. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.